Hey folks, it's Greg. You're watching Greg Country Cabin Outdoors. Hope you're having a great day. It's Sunday and I've got a little bit of work to do on one of our rental properties, but a friend of mine is a model railroader, and I asked him if I could come over and shoot some video of his railroad, and he said sure. I've only seen videos of his railroad that he's put up on his Facebook page, and I talked to him a little bit about it. I thought maybe he'd want to do a YouTube channel on model railroading, and he said there's way too many out there, he'd get lost in the clutter, and so he wasn't going to mess with it. What really surprised me is his setup is N gauge. I've seen a lot of HO, and I thought his was HO when I first saw it, but it's N gauge. So it'll be pretty interesting to see what it actually looks like when I get there. I've got a few errands to run, so I'll head over there a little bit later. But for now, yeah, I'm going to head over to my friend John's and shoot a little bit of video. Okay, I'm here with my friend Jon Cook. And John and I have been friends for 20 years. We met on St. Patrick's weekend, and this is John.
Hi.
And John has a railroad set up here. And what I was showing you earlier is HO, and HO is your typical. And I thought that what John had was an HO set. And it turns out it's an N. And this is John's setup. Now, John, how long have you been working on this?
Over 6 years.
Over 6 years. So, now, this isn't your only hobby, is it?
No.
He's a reenactor. In fact, when I met him, we marched in a parade for the 12th Illinois in the Civil War uniforms, and we fired our guns. And John was working, I believe you were working for Achilles that weekend, was it?
Yeah, I believe
behind
so.
the bar?
Yes.
Yeah, so we actually met at a bar, and then we walked in the parade the very next day. So I saw John's layout, and I thought, man, that's pretty neat. And then I found out it was N, and I thought, wow, the smallest, is it?
No.
Okay, so tell them the story about...
Z scale, from my understanding, is something that a Japanese businessman decided he wanted a train layout he could take and travel with. And he went to a company in Germany and said, make me a train layout that I can travel with. And that's where Z scale developed. That's the story that I have been told by several other model railroaders. How true it is, I don't know.
Okay, so now we're not in a typical basement setup. We're in a spare bedroom, and if you look up, you can see John's collection of helmets. He's not only a Civil War reenactor, but he's German, World War II, is that right?
The back one
Yeah.
was doing, yes, World War II, German pickle helm.
Okay.
That's an American overseas cap, or dress greens cap.
Mm-hmm.
Next one is World War I Tommy helmet.
Okay.
World War I campaign helmet. And then over here I have a Russian hat, which is probably 80s. And then underneath it, or no, here it is. Back here is after World War II Russian helmet.
Okay, so you've got several hobbies.
Yeah.
And
Too many hobbies.
anybody that knows what reenacting is all about knows that they are not cheap hobbies. He's got a lot of his gear in here.
A lot of this stuff up here on the shelf is all original. This is all original stuff.
Okay. Well, let's get started on this railroad. You want to start it up for me, John?
I will do that.
Explain what you've got and what you've recently done. Do you have to turn the lights out to be able to see the crossing lights?
Probably wouldn't hurt too much to dim the lights.
Oh, okay.
I do have a dimmer switch on my lights that go over the actual layout. The other thing, how does that look on your...
Oh, it's beautiful.
All right. Now I have a few things I need to do. First is I've got to turn on the theater lights, and it is actually from a child's toy that I got at a dollar store.
Now that's
And
nice.
that is the Illinois Theater. Was a friend of mine's dad's in high school, and we used to go see movies all the time there, so that's why I named my theater the Illinois Theater. Then turn on the main power, all my main lights come on. Street lamps, and most of the building lights.
Building lights, yeah.
I've got some stop lights over here for the trains, for their
Yep.
bumper stops. Then this switch is on my blinkers. Now, I don't know how many people out there will probably remember this, but back in the day when Pizza Hut was Pizza Hut, they used to have candles at all their table.
Yep, I do remember that.
And they all flickered. So I put that into there. Basically, I used some of the battery-powered tea candles that flickered like lights. Used resistors to get the power to where it would blow the lights out, and wired it in. Then I have one blinking light on my TV tower.
Way over yonder on the TV tower. Okay.
And I have one blinking light on my roundhouse, and that's because all the other ones went bad, and I just replaced them with regular ones.
Okay. Nice. Okay.
Now, the trains that I've got on the layout are Great North Empire Builder passenger car set. It's got a F7A and B unit. The B unit does not have a driver. It's basically just power. The A unit is the driver unit.
Okay.
On the round table is a Great North Doodlebug, which was used like in inner city, like from Chicago to Springfield type back in the early diesel days, and that's what my error is early diesel to mid diesel to early. Well, I'd have to say it'd be mid diesel to late diesel era. That'd be like the late 50s to mid 70s, early 80s.
Okay.
This is an F7 also. The Spirit of 76 Sioux line. Let me get my cheater notes here. The Sioux line Bicentennial is a GP38, which is this one over here. Then the Illinois Central is a GP30. The Red Sioux line engine is a GP38-2, and this Sioux line is a GP30. 30 something. I'm not sure on what that one is, but these are engines that are no longer made. Most of the newer ones. I've got a few of the newer ones, but I don't usually use them a lot on my layout because, like I said, I'm doing the early mid diesel to just about where they started phasing out cabooses.
So what did you build now? You've got these railroad crossing or these bridges, and what did you build your your ramp out of?
That's foam.
Foam?
Construction foam, the big thick like pink foam that you buy in the big chunks. That and plaster Paris. The sand stuff is it's what they call ballast. It's lightweight man-made sand is basically what it is. I couldn't tell you what it's made out of, but it's almost, it feels like sand, looks like sand, acts like sand, but it's a lot lighter. And they have a special glue that's like a really watered down Elmer's glue that you use to put it in place.
Okay. Start this baby up. Let's see it run.
Well, that one's a little noisy. Hopefully we don't have any
trains are noisy.
Oh yeah. Hopefully we don't have any derailments, which has happened a few times while I was doing some testing this morning, making sure everything was working. Now the last thing that I added on that got great interest in what I had here were my working crossing lights.
Right.
And I don't have a number yet, so I'm not sure which ones are what. I believe this one is that one right there.
Where's that? Okay.
And then the next one we've had a derailment. Yeah, and this happens all the time, and I've got a bad coupler on one of these, and I can't figure out why it won't stay coupled. But sometimes if you just leave them at a slow speed, they're fine, and if you speed them up, they undo.
Mm-hmm.
If this doesn't work, we'll just.
So you were able to pick
train.
that one up without any problems at
Yeah,
all.
they have couplers. There's two different style ones. There's old style ones from when the model railroading was real popular in the 60s and 70s,
Mm-hmm.
and they work well. But they've got new modern ones that actually work like the real couplers,
Mm-hmm.
and they actually underneath these things here are some magnets, and if I
Yeah.
roll over it and stop,
Mm-hmm.
and then back up and go forward real fast, it uncouples them.
Okay.
And sometimes they uncouple when you don't want them to. But anyways, as I was saying, the thing that I was showing Greg that I did that caught his interest wanting to do this video was I was installing my crossing lights. And then there's the ones by the train station.
Mm-hmm.
And then these are the ones there. And then I've got one single one back there.
Pretty neat.
And,
And the gates go down too?
no, the gates, they're
Oh,
manual.
the gates are already
yeah,
there.
they're
Okay.
manual, and we lost.
Okay.
Stick it on top of the hill. All right. Basically, I'm going to switch out the Sioux Line Bicentennial for the Illinois Central. And what I need to do is switch these tracks. Maybe. Well, I guess it would help if I turned it on. I have a power supply that runs my turntable and the power for the turntable and the switches. This basically runs my non-blinking lights and the power for the train, and then this one here runs my blinking lights, and then this is the crossing lights are actually all 9-volt. They run off a little 9-volt battery that's
okay.
with a little computer board that's stuck underneath the train layout. I'll go forward. I can hear something dragging on that one. Now this is where it gets tricky. Every switch has a number which correlates with the switch you got to push to make them turn on or turn off. This is where it gets tricky because you got to beat the train. Power off. Each one of these tracks on the outside, what they call sidings, they all have their own power switch. And this far enough back the line.
So every one of these rail lines is interconnected.
Pretty much so. I have one that is not. These here are not connected to the main line.
Okay.
They're just for the roundhouse or engine storage.
Mm-hmm.
And I have one in the way back that's just dead. It doesn't even work.
Okay.
And that's just for looks. I'll turn the switch D on for the power for that. And then 8. Forward, and hopefully we will. Well, it is moving slow. Just past the switch there. Come on. Why are you moving so slow today? This is where I run into problems. If you're trying to switch them out and one's faster than the other, you're going to have a collision. That's what we don't want. of course now I've got a derailleur. And this is the reason why I sometimes it gets frustrating, because it's just, that's why HO is a lot easier. It's a lot bigger. And like I said, this got magnets on there, and with me doing everything I did, it unhooked them. And these places with magnets are also, they're re-railers, as they call them. They look like crossing for, like, you know, car crossings.
Right.
But they also serve a purpose to where if you've got a car that comes off the track, if it goes over it, it'll put it back on the track.
Okay. Now it's picking up some speed.
Yep. It's one of my newer ones. A lot of my engines I've bought and used. Because they're cheaper. Something's off track. And now it's not. See, that's how those work.
Okay.
Oh.
Yep.
Fail, fail, fail. Everything's failing at one time. That's usually the way it goes. And that's part of the hobby. It just seems like every time you turn around, you got something coming off track. Something not working right. A lot of times I'll brush, when I'm trying to do something like that, I'll brush and knock something over.
So let me tell you a little story. John and I were at a local steam show, and John and I have both told this story. He's laughing already. We were at a union camp, and I was presenting Abraham Lincoln as the lawyer, politicking out, you know, trying to muster up some votes. And a lady with a group of school kids came by, and the first thing she asked me was, "Where's your beard?" And I said, "I'm sorry, ma'am, I'm a lawyer from Springfield." And she said, "Well, aren't you Mr. Lincoln?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am, I am." And she said, "You should have a beard." And I said, "No, ma'am, I'm a lawyer from Springfield." And she looked at my friend John, who happened to be sitting in the camp talking to me at the time, and said, "What year is this?" And John responded, 1860. To which she immediately responded, "See, you're supposed to be the president. You should have a beard." And I looked at John, and I said, "John, what month is this?" And he responded, "September." And I said, "When's the election, John?" And he said, "November." And so I told the lady, if she's going to get her facts wrong, get them right wrong. And she left in a huff. Now, John wasn't there when the lady came back about 20 minutes later. Another lady came up to me and said, on behalf of the other 5 teachers that were there, we'd like to thank you for putting her in her place. If you're going to argue facts, you better have your facts right.
Exactly.
That's a fun story. I enjoy that one.
One of my favorite stories from reenacting was Grierson days. And I don't have anything against the way anybody dresses, looks, acts, pedigree, anything like that. But he was your typical Illinois redneck. Cut off t-shirt, rebel t-shirt, big beard, dripping snuff down his chin, smelled like beer. Walks up to me and says, "How do y'all keep from shooting one another?" I chuckled and said, "We're very good shots." And I turned around and walked away. Anyways, back to the train layout. One thing I wanted to point out is if you get your camera to get underneath that tunnel, there's actually lights to a car coming through the tunnel.
Let's see if I can get... Well, here, let me just pause. Oh, yeah. That's neat.
That's just 2 LEDs that I stuck on a piece of foam, close enough to look like headlights.
And it does, too. In the darkness, you can't see anything else but the headlights.
Right.
So, yeah, that's really neat. And I like the little teardrop camper that you've got there.
Yeah, that was there's several companies that make all sorts of stuff for railroad modeling. Anything from G gauge, which is garden gauge, which are humongous,
Yeah.
to the Z scale, which are small. Now
Right.
I have both in gauge and HO out. I do have Lionel, which is O gauge. That's, everyone calls Lionel, but it's O gauge.
Okay.
We found my wife's uncle's set from when he was a boy in the house that we're rebuilding.
Oh, okay.
And my father-in-law said that's been sitting in a closet, has been dripped on and defecated on by raccoons and mice.
Mm-hmm.
He says that thing will never run. I looked at him. I said, it's an old Lionel. It'll run.
Yeah.
Brought it home and had it running in an hour.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
We found by the roundhouse.
Mm-hmm.
I have a German railgun. German railgun was a static model, which means you put it together and put it on a shelf.
Right.
Well, I bought it and turned it to what they call rolling stock, which means it actually moves on the track.
Okay.
And it's, I should have had it parked in a different place so I could have demonstrated it, but I'd have to take it completely off and move it because it doesn't fit on the turntable.
So you've got a little bit of a camp here too, don't you?
Camp where? Oh, that's a junkyard.
Oh, junkyard. Okay.
Yeah, that's a scrap yard.
Okay.
I actually have a lot more cars than what you see on the train layout.
Right.
I actually have a, if you notice on the HO, I've got the crane, maintenance crane with the
Oh yeah.
the,
Where'd it
tender
go?
to it.
There it is.
I actually have that in N-gauge too. In fact, I have an entire repair thing. It's got several cars that are they're work cars, the crane, the tender for the crane. I've got a car that's got new track, and another one that's got the ties in it.
Okay.
Another thing I did is I found a little tank, so I did a tank on a flat bed. This I bought at a train show. Somebody up there in New Mexico. And then this is a Pearl Harbor car that was a special edition.
Okay.
There's all sorts of special editions. Like the train up here is a 1976 special edition. I have a car carrier, an extremely long box car. That's what they call a slug. It's basically a engine on wheels.
Okay.
But that's non-functioning.
Okay.
And then these here are other ones that are, these are my more modern diesel ones that I've
Norfolk
picked up.
and Southern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got this drawer which has a few more engines and cabooses in it, and a lot of the hard cases from my really good cars.
Okay.
And then underneath it, I have about 100 more cars.
Okay. So you got a pretty good selection to choose from.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've got everything from what they call beer can tanker cars, which are the really short ones. I've got a whole collection of those.
Okay.
The different road names. But I have regular tanker cars. I have box cars. I've got a few cattle cars.
Now, being a Civil War reenactor, you don't have a Civil War setup.
I'd like to. This is a Heinz 57 vinegar car.
Okay.
I have the special dark chocolate Hershey's car. It's just like the Hershey's car that I have for my HO, except for special dark chocolate instead of just regular milk chocolate.
Okay.
And these were mass produced. Some of the other cars I really like, I've got some Illinois Central piggyback cars. They're ones that carry the semi trailers on the back of them. And then I have a Sioux Line ore train set up, and that is just, I remember seeing those up in Michigan all the time.
Okay.
On the Upper Peninsula. But yeah, this is it's truly now there's a different type of process you can use to run your train. It's called DCC, or direct computer control. Basically, you get a controller that's computerized, and you can have certain switches thrown after in so many minutes, and trains will pull into the train station and stop. They have sound chips in them where you have the sound of the cars stopping, and the brakes, and the steam. It just really elaborate. But that's a lot of intensity and a lot more expensive. Those engines run anywhere, for N scale, 200 plus.
Wow. Now, go ahead.
If you notice the Enterprise hanging over my town, A lot of us model railroaders were real quirky type people. Like, if you notice, I've got a shirt on that's Big Bang Theory related, and of course we all know Sheldon was a model railroad nut. I get called that a lot by my coworkers. But a lot of us incorporate silly things into our train layout. For instance, I have the Enterprise hanging over. I'm currently searching for in-scale figures who I could paint up or could possibly represent a landing party. Another thing I'm wanting to do, and a friend of mine in Chicago has been working on this, he's tried to print me out a TARDIS. An in-scale TARDIS. The smallest he can get it right now is 120. This is 160.
Okay.
So that's basically what in-scale is. But needless to say, and if you look over by the theater, there are mooners.
I didn't notice that before.
And then if I pull this train around,
I notice the lights are on.
Yeah, oh yeah, they all have working lights. Notice the green boxcar.
Somebody jumping on the train or just
Sitting there.
Just sitting.
And I have a hobo camp.
Okay. Yeah. You can't have a railroad without a hobo camp.
Nope, certainly cannot. But yeah,
That's
there's
neat.
just little things like that that a lot of I've seen Loch Ness Monster in lakes. There was a guy recently, I'm on a page for InScale, that had Bigfoot in his woods, wooded area. Something that he added along with other quirky things they have. My outhouse.
Okay.
Quite racing.
Oh yeah, I see now. Okay.
They've just in the last year developed basically it's like a 3D picture that you can place in buildings to make it look like there's actually stuff in it. Now the closest I come to is I had some stuff I added into my Burger King to make it look like there was actual seating in there. It's kind of hard to see, but it's
I see it. Right.
It's a little
zoom in on it and see if I can. Yeah.
But that's something in the garage. There's some stuff inside the garage. I have a soda machine. I have fire hydrants, mailboxes. That's all stuff's been around for a while, but still running. The clock in the clock tower is running.
Oh wow.
Basically.
It is running. Yeah, I see the second end moving.
I got a really small lady's pocket watch.
Okay.
Took everything off of it but the guts. Built the model. Made a bracket to hold it in.
Okay.
Cut out where the face was because there was just a print of a clock on there. And it dawned on me, I got this little pocket watch. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
But pretty much so that's my,
at least yours runs. The one on Back to the Future doesn't run.
I've seen that too. I've seen the DeLorean on some HO scales.
Have you?
A lot of the model railroaders, they'll have big elaborate layouts that are modeled after in specific areas or specific towns. I just basically started laying down track. I didn't go by any design. I looked at a few design options as far as tracks that you could build. Basically, you can get books that have different layouts in them, specific type layouts, and tells you everything you got to have to build that exact layout. I just started laying track down. Started with a circle. This is like the third. I guess you could call it. This is my 3.0 version.
Okay.
It started out, I did a little 4x4 in scale.
Right.
And it worked okay, but wasn't the greatest. And then I took it apart and built a little bigger, and then added on and added on and added on.
That's the thing with the model railroaders. They just continue to grow.
Yeah. The more space you get, the more you grow. And that's one of the reasons why I went with N scale, is because I live in a mobile home, and this is the smallest room in the trailer, and it just works. It works. It works really well. You've got a really nice setup here. Well, John, I want to thank you for taking the time to show me your setup here. And I love showing it. It's a hobby.
It's a lot of fun, I can tell.
A lot of work.
I want to give a shout out to Shane McGath because he's a subscriber on my channel. So
Hey Shane.
And I
You
think
crazy Irishman.
Sue's subscribed to my
Yes,
channel too,
yes.
isn't she?
I think I am too.
I know you are. Yeah.
And a long time ago, when him and his dad and brothers were plowing the field, they hit something that actually broke one of the chisels off the plow. And they, okay, well, it's a big rock or something, so they started digging around. Well, they uncovered this metal piece. Okay, it can't be that long. Well, it ended up being like 10 feet long.
Really?
Yeah. And he has the big section of it that he does forging work out there at the steam show. You know,
Okay.
John Craig.
Yeah.
But he kept a big, huge chunk of it, and he cut off a piece with a rail spike hole in it for me to give to me. Another
was
friend of
nice.
mine acquired this, which is
The plaque, yeah.
an old plaque that I took the plaque thing off and mounted it on there.
Okay.
But needless to say, it's one of my few pieces of actual railroad history that I have.
That's nice. That's real nice. Okay, well, I'm done. Had a nice visit with John. Learned a lot about model railroading, and so I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.